Well, hello again, guys. Welcome to the second part. Now, we're gonna check on your answers about what would have been the flipped classroom activity. Remember that you had to analyze and answer some questions about a picture. And then we're gonna check on the next activity that you need to be working on. So guys, this was the picture that you needed to analyze. Let's first just watch it, analyze it, and see what's going on. Now the instructions say, Jackie arrives at school late. She walks into her classroom and is surprised by what she sees. What risks does Jackie see in her classroom? Well, first of all, we can see this. Trash lying all around the floor. Second of all, this glue lying around a desk and even spilling on the floor. We can see here someone that is cheating. Wow, he's trying to actually see the answers on his classmates' evaluation. And finally, perhaps the least risky one, but still it can be a risk. We can see that the bookshelf is broken and all those books are disorganized. Well, these are the things that may potentially be a risk. Now let's answer the questions. First of all, a risk is something that could have a bad outcome. Now this is just a definition. A risk is something that could have a bad outcome. Now, let's really analyze why these are risks and what are the outcomes that they could have. Now remember, just because something is risky, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to have a bad outcome. It is risky because it is potentially dangerous. Sometimes you can get something good out of it, but sometimes you could get into trouble. So, the first thing that we saw was trash on the floor. Now, why is this risky? Well, someone could trip or it could attract bugs. If you just have something laying around on the floor, you could trip with it and fall down. But because it is not only just trash, it is even just an apple that is being dumped outside of the trash can, it could potentially attract bugs or other animals, and we don't want that. So that is risky, and that is a potential outcome. Now the second one is spilled liquid on the floor. Now, again, why is this risky? If you can trip over trash just lying around on the floor, well, you can slip on liquid lying around on the floor. which is still a potential bad outcome. Now, number 3, a student cheating. Well, this is something that might affect either just him or it might even affect someone else. The student could get into trouble for cheating on his evaluation. But this risk is not only for him. If the teacher misunderstands the situation, or even if his classmate is actually helping him, both of them can get into trouble. Now, there is another potential outcome just for cheating. Even if you are not caught, even if the teacher doesn't come in and sees you cheating, another potential outcome for you cheating on an evaluation or on anything is that you are not learning. Now, the last one, a broken bookshelf. Now, if you take a look at this bookshelf, it looks like the books are about to fall. Now, they could fall over someone, or they could even just lie around on the floor and again someone can trip. Now again, guys, these outcomes will not necessarily happen. These are some possible situations, some possible outcomes. But just because there is a possibility, you need to be careful. Now, let's move on to the next thing. Now, we would have worked on this together, but again, this is kind of working a little bit different. Still, I am going to be reading this with you, and while I am doing this, please try to work along with me on the exercise. Let's read it together. Jackie's teacher tells the class that the average student usually spends 1.5 hours preparing for a math test. Jackie begins studying at 8:55 p.m. the night before the test. She stops studying at 10:05 p.m. Did Jackie take a risk with the amount of time she spent studying? Well, we need to analyze the situation. First of all, the teacher said that usually it will take for a student 1.5 hours preparing for a math test. You need to at least study for 1.5 hours. But Jackie only studied from 8:55 to 10:05. So, what do you think, guys? Is that enough or not? So, first question. What time did Jackie start studying? Well, that is pretty simple. She started studying at 8:55 p.m., right? Now, what time did Jackie stop studying? Pretty simple again. She stopped studying at 10:05 p.m. First open question. How long should Jackie study? The teacher said that she should study for at least 1.5 hours. But how much time did Jackie spend studying for her test? How much time did she actually spend studying? Think of it for just a second, guys. How much time passed between 8:55 p.m. to 10:05 p.m.? Now, if your answer was 1 hour and 10 minutes, you are correct. If you count the minutes that passed between 8:55 p.m. to 10:05 p.m., it's just 1 hour with 10 minutes. So how much more time should Jackie have spent studying? Remember, she should have studied for 1.5 hours, which equals 1 hour with 30 minutes. But she only studied for 1 hour and 10 minutes. So she is lacking 20 minutes. Now, it doesn't seem like that much, but it could potentially lead to her not studying enough. So, again, what is the risk? How is it a risk for Jackie to not study 1.5 hours? What could be the outcome? The outcome is that she might be unprepared for the test and get a bad grade. Perhaps Jackie studied everything and she is well prepared. Perhaps she didn't need 1.5 hours. Perhaps she only needed that amount of time. Every student is different. So perhaps she is prepared, but perhaps she's not. And if she didn't continue studying just because she was tired or just because she was bored, she might be unprepared for the test and get a bad grade. So again, guys, when we are analyzing risks, we need to think about the potential outcomes. When we are analyzing any situation, risky or not, we need to be prepared to analyze what are the potential outcomes. Some outcomes might be good, some outcomes might be great, but some outcomes might not be awesome. They might be dangerous, they might be wrong for us, and sometimes even worse, not even wrong for us, but for other people. These are the risky situations. Now, we need to consider these situations and to actually have some self-control, because we really need to know if engaging in these risky situations, is it worth it or not? That is what we are going to continue discussing on next sessions. So guys, I hope that this was enlightening for you. Again, we are going to get there. We are going to be talking about money at some point during this subject. But for now, the first part of this topic was just to talk about risks. Remember, not just because you are engaging in a risky situation, it doesn't necessarily mean that the outcome is going to be bad for you. But it is a potential situation that you might encounter yourselves in. You might potentially or possibly encounter yourself in a bad situation just because you engaged in a risky situation. You need to be prepared to think about and analyze when is it worth it to engage in a risky situation and when is it not. So I think you already know where we are going with this topic and how we are going to connect it with talking about money. But for now, well guys, class is finished. But don't forget to take pictures of all the things that you worked on the book and to upload those pictures to the Alusa platform. But for now, well guys, good luck, have a great weekend, and I will see you again on Monday. Bye-bye.